Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this 28th of Friday, the 28th of June, 2024. Well, I had the big debate between Trump and Biden. And this article is taken off of CBC News, and it says Biden debate disaster. U.S. President freezes up against Trump. They're asking questions here if Biden will drop out, etc., etc. Go on to read it a little bit. It says it was agony in Atlanta for Joe Biden, for Democrats, and for anyone around the world dreading another Trump presidency because the chances of that happening just grew. Biden appeared confused and agonized for 14 seconds early in the catastrophic moment that'll enter into the cringe-induced annals in the history of presidential debates. They go on to list here. It says the debate ended. There was hardly any need for Republicans on the post-event panels. The despondent Democrats were brutal enough speculating about Biden dropping out. It says not just panic, it's pain. Democratic analyst Vance Jones said on CNN right after Thursday's debate ended. So they're saying it's not just panic. So evidently, this was a Democratic analyst, Van Jones. He said it's not just panic. I don't know. I watched a little bit of the debate last night, and I thought that Biden was coherent. What am I missing here? He seemed coherent to me. But anyway, they're panicking. And take a look on here. They're talking about who could replace Joe Biden. Already, they're on here talking. It says, with Biden not yet officially endorsed as Democratic presidential nominee, it is, in theory, open to the party to choose another candidate. So they're going through here and they're taking a look at some of the candidates. And we'll see here. I guess number one candidate would be Kamala Harris. The most obvious pick, it says, would be Biden's vice president. She has been widely criticized for not carving out her own role in the Biden administration and has poor polling approval ratings. It says she would struggle against Donald Trump in the glare of an election campaign. And then the next one is Gavin Newsom. Says a 56-year-old California governor was in the spin room on Thursday night talking down any alternatives to Biden as nominee, saying it was nonsensical speculation, in quote unquote. And then there's J.B. Pritzker. He has a little bit of a resemblance to. I remember there used to be a comedian used to play, what was his name? A little fella, he was, wasn't Laurel and Hardy, it was the other one, the other duo, comedy duo. He used to play during the 1950s and stuff. I'm having a brain fart, I can't think of his name. What was the name of him? Abbott and Costello. He reminds me of Bud Abbott. That's what he looks like to me. It's just me. Or do you guys think he looked like a little bit like Bud Abbott? So there's J.B. Pritzker. And then there's Gretchen Whitmire, Michigan governor. She's 52 years old. Boy, she looks good for 52. Doesn't look her age. It says she was on the short list for vice president pick for Biden in 2020. And a strong showing in the midterms for the Democratic Party. And then there's Sherrod Brown. This guy, a 71-year-old. He's the oldest of the alternative picks. It says he's still 7 years younger than Trump. He's 71 years old. And then there's Dean Phillips. And of course, he looks like he just swallowed a lemon. Just joking, of course. But it says he's a candidate during the Democratic primaries earlier this year. He picked some backers but failed to appeal to the broader party, winning no contest, so he is unlikely to be a factor if Biden steps down. Dean Phillips. So that's their short list. Right there. That's their short list. Anyway. What's the world coming to? I'm going to tell you what America's coming to right now. 4 in 10 Americans will stay put this summer because money is tight. This means no vacation. You know, when I was a kid, we used to always be able to take vacations in America with just one person working in the house. Long vacations, too, in the summer. It's a tradition, American tradition. And now Americans are having to leave that by the wayside because money's tight. How can money be tight? Listen, how can money be tight with the amount of money that they printed? It's because you didn't get that money. That's why. They gave you a token, what's called a token, which was those stimmy checks they sent you. That was just a token. COVID-related travel restrictions is but a faint memory. Travelers are ready to hit the beaches en masse this summer. That's if they can still afford it, it says. Four in 10 Americans are going to stay put this summer. 42% not traveling, not going on vacation any longer. So vacations could become a thing of the past. And that's a crying shame, you know that? Now, China, you know what? China offloaded $50 billion in U.S. treasuries in the first quarter. I'm going to tell you, this whole war thing and everything, and China eyeing up Taiwan, and what's going on in the South China Sea, and even what's going on in Ukraine. China right now is got their eyes on the gold. Quite seriously, and that's not a pun. They got their eyes on the gold. They can take these treasuries and they can offload them. $50 billion worth of U.S. treasuries just in the first quarter alone. It's reducing their holdings of treasuries. Basically, they're invested in the United States, China is. And so to go to war or anything like that, you know, they could lose all that, and they've worked hard for that. And so what they'd rather do is they'd rather cash in as quickly as they can and get away with it and try to transfer it into gold and take the gold from west to east. Because they know that gold is the fundamental backing, the cornerstone of the world's entire financial system. Now, ultimately, you know, I mean, Bitcoin wants to take that mantle, but it's not there. Gold's there. Gold's the real thing, and they all know it behind the scenes. They know that everything else is, gold's the only money. Everything else is credit. And they know that. And so they're trying to stockpile and get as much of that reserve as they can, the gold, before the system falls to pieces. You know, and with their money that they're getting, they'll still buy gold, and because they've manipulated the gold price down so low for so long, it can still buy a lot of gold. That won't be that way forever. When the dollar starts to go down in value, what they're doing is it's Gresham's law. In effect, they're offloading what's going to be garbage, and they're taking in something that's going to be the big thing, gold. So they're offloading U.S. treasuries and U.S. dollars. They're offloading that, and they're stepping in the gold where they know what's going to happen. Do you know what's going to happen? What's in your portfolio? Now, Taking a look at the silver price today, $29.17. See, they've been keeping this stuff, even right now, it's very artificially low, considering everything else has went up so high. And how much labor intensive for an ounce of silver. I got to remind you guys right now how labor intensive 1 ounce of silver is. They have to move hundreds of pounds of, they have to dig out rocks, hundreds of pounds of rocks. Oh, and it doesn't end there. Picture, you got a big wheelbarrow in your shed out back. Picture if you filled that twice with rocks and had to dig those rocks out of the ground, how much work that would be. Now, it doesn't end there. You got to grind those rocks into powder with rock crushers. And then you got to take that powder and you got to extract the silver from that powder. Not an easy process. And then you got to smelt it several times to purify it. And then you got to form it makes blanks, and it makes what they call dory bars, and then they take those and they have to re-smelt them again to get them 999 pure, and then they make these things called blanks, and then they have to send the blanks to a company like Sunshine Mint or whatever, and get them to mint it into coinage, or the mints to mint it into coinage. It's a lot to it. And then it has to be shipped back and forth. By the time you figure in exploration, by the time you figure in all associated costs, future exploration and everything else, you're sitting right around $20 US. And it's only $29.17 right now. It was only $22. It's that small of a margin over cost. Now it's got a little bit of a spread, but not much. Still, but that's because they've manipulated the price. But you know, all along, they've known better than to manipulate the price down below the price of mining production costs. They never did that. They never took it below mining production cost. They've been careful not to do that. They know what would happen. The mines would close up. They'd say, okay, that's it. We're losing money on this stuff. We're not. As long as there's a little bit of a spread, the mines will stay working. But right now, this is a bigger spread than the mines have seen in a little while, because it's still around $20. So they got about a $9 spread there. But that's still not a lot, considering these other people who are manufacturing other things out there have a much bigger spread. Manufacture bolts for the military, you'll have a much bigger spread. You know, it costs you 5 cents to produce the bolt. The military will pay $10,000 to put it on their Black Hawk helicopter. Same bolt you can go to the hardware store and buy for like 29 cents. You talk about a spread there. Possibly one of the biggest spreads on anything. You know, I'm just saying that. But it's true. Within the military, they have the markup on a lot of these things that they use to build things like helicopters and airplanes and weapons of war is unreal. How did I get talking about that? Anyway, $29.17 for silver today. It's up 24 cents. Now, cryptocurrency today, we're taking a look at Bitcoin, and it's dropping. It's 60,800, barely holding its head above 60,000 right now. Ethereum is 3407, and we're taking a look at XRP at 47 cents, 47.5 cents. So, yeah, Bitcoin's not doing so good right now. It's cooling off. Crude oil's at 81.36 today. It's down 38 cents. Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 112 points at 39,276. That's 39,276 for the Dow. So it's near its all-time high. You can see, you know, I'm going to take a look at the maximum chart here. And it's just like a mountain that just keeps climbing, you know? And you get deflationary pressures in the system, and you'd see that this mountain would Well, we've seen a couple episodes of it. I think this was the one at the start of COVID right here. Back in 2020, we seen a big drop. But generally, if you take a look at the overall chart over the years, you're looking at one consistently long bull market that the market's been in over the years. And this is because of cheap, easy money. This correlates exactly to what's in the bond market with the 10-year. Now, if we take a look at the 10-year here, okay, and you'll see the correlation. Just a sec. Give the charts a second to come up here. There we go. Now go to here to all. Just give it a second, guys. See this consistently down, 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 down over the last, this is like 40 years, over 40 years right here. And now take a look at the Dow over 40 years, right? What do you see? This is a correlation between falling bond prices, in other words, cheap, easy money, and the Dow going up. There's a correlation there. So the Dow is continuing to go up, but as we see these bond prices starting to move now to the upside for the first time in almost forever, since we've been alive, the first time that we see these bond prices starting to ease up there, right? What's that going to do to the market if bond prices get high enough? That's going to snap this winning streak that's been like since forever in the market. Like this is like going back to, well, this goes back to 2005, this one right here, but I could get a longer chart, I suppose. So the 10-year today is at 4.32. It's up 3.9 basis points. I tend to think that this long end of the yield curve is going to continue to rise now that it started to rise until they have to come in and do something to stop it, because it's wrecking the economy. You gotta feed this system. We got a Ponzi scheme going on here in the financial system, and you gotta keep feeding that Ponzi scheme. Otherwise, the whole thing's gonna break apart. And how do you feed it? With cheap, easy money. And how do you get cheap, easy money? Low rates of interest on the money. In other words, practically free money. In fact, even negative rates. And so I see that coming in our future, because there's going to be some sort of a little train wreck coming up right away, right soon, probably within the next year. And then they're going to bring out the cheap, easy money again. Say goodbye to your dollar. That process has been working since going back to when the Fed started over 100 years ago. And it's ate up like 98% of our dollar, value of our dollar. That process is going to continue until it gets to 100%, eats up 100% of the dollar. So you got 2 cents left on your dollar now compared to what you could purchase with it. I mean, these people back in the old West and stuff, they could have like $20. That's all, just $20. And they go out and buy a ranch with cattle on it and everything else, and set themselves up to live out in the old West, like back in the 1800s. Buy a 40-acre ranch with a head of cows on it, a dozen cows on it, and a house already built on it, and a well and everything else. $20. Here's $20. Sure, here's the ranch. Here's the deed to the ranch. Nowadays, how far are you going to get for $20? Can you get a meal? Maybe. But not for long. Next year, you won't be able to get a meal for $20. Last year, you could get a meal for $10. Now it's $20. Next year, it'll be $40. That's the way we're going. And yet they come on here, and I heard one of them say that they asked. I think it was during the debate. Where did I hear this? Did I hear it in the debate? They said that the inflation. They said back at the start of COVID, for $100, now it's $100. Was that in the debate? Was it? And they said now it's 120 to buy the same thing you buy for 100. Where are they shopping? Because back when COVID started, and I can tell you, I shop at this grocery store down here, and back when COVID started, everything was half the price it is now. You went in there, and for $30 now, it costs you $60 to get the same stuff you got for $30 at the beginning of COVID. It's doubled. Where did they get only went up 20% all this time? Where are they shopping? Or are they buying all this shrinkflated stuff? Back then, you got twice as much. Yeah, they reduced the size. You have to see what they're doing with things like chips. They used to give you a bag that was had 6 ounces in it. Now the same bag's only got 3 ounces in it. Plus the price is higher. They pull all these rackets. Everything out there is a racket now. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Thank you to my... Listen, I'm going to tell you, I got a few new members to my channel. It's going to be some sort of a great show this weekend I'm going to produce for you members out there, and welcome to my new members out there. I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. That's really great. And we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.